And Nate shared with us such compelling, moving sentiments of hope, of light and darkness, of the necessity to endure difficulty, and to be a voice of moral courage in the fight against hate. And I am so privileged to have met you today, sir, and I'm so grateful for the voice you are. As we mentioned from Ethan, together we are the voices of many. So thank you for being with us. So I want to build on the point made by Minister Kurtzer, who's hosting us today in his community, an exceptional leader and colleague. Of course, noted Robin Martin is with us today, who's been at the forefront of fighting anti-Semitism within her community of Eglinton Lawrence. Parliamentary assistant, Graham McGregor, who just spoke, Will Boma, Andrea Kanjan. We have great support today from Laura Smith and Minister Michael Ford and our entire government. We are here together to ensure we leave a legacy of hope in the hearts of all Canadians. And we know that 84 years ago, since Kristallnacht, a pogrom which targeted Jews across Nazi Germany, known as the Night of Broken Glass. On this day, mobs of people would turn against their neighbors, inspired by their Nazi leaders to dehumanize, abuse, and murder Jewish families, burn and destroy Jewish-owned businesses, and consolidate the hatred of Nazi anti-Semitism across society. It is worth talking about because it is a clear example of the consequence of unchecked hate in society. The horrors that took place 84 years ago on the Night of Broken Glass were unleashed on people for no other reason than the simple facts that they were Jews. We are here today to confront that same threat, one that is rising, and a threat that I know plagues our democracy, freedom, and the pluralism that is our country. That threat is the most ancient form of hatred, anti-Semitism, and it has taken root in our schools, campuses, and communities, and across this country. The stain of this hatred has impacted students and their families for generations, and colleagues, it is absolutely unacceptable. And so I'm glad that you're with me today, with so many leaders within the Jewish community. It is so important that I give a special note of thanks to Marilyn Sinclair from Liberation 75. And her relentless spirit to get us to an announcement today during Holocaust Education Week. So thank you, Marilyn, for all the emails and all the calls, and for the passion and love you bring to the space, frankly, in Canada and around the world. So we are grateful. Liberation 75 existed to honor the 75th liberation of Auschwitz. It is now the 77th year, and I'm happy we're able to do this together. Combating anti-Semitism clearly is an issue we are all passionate about. And it stemmed for me on a more personal note when I visited Israel and Yad Vashem, the Holocaust museum that honors the 6 million who perished at the hands of fascism. When you walk into the sacred space, you tribute those that died. And something stands out upon the first steps in your entrance. I remember viscerally the smell of leather, the overwhelming emotion and literal sickness when you see what's before you. Shoes, each of them stripped off a human being for the crime of being Jewish. Each pair representing a life taken by the evil of hate. And I'll never forget the story learning about Lily Hirsch. Lily was just 12 years old when her family was confronted with the reality of the Holocaust. When her mother came to her pleading that she cut her hair because she knew that the ghetto they would be sent to would make it impossible for that type of care. Lily had been growing her hair braids for nearly her entire life. She didn't want to cut them. She was 12 and she loved her hair. But her mother promised her it would be taken care of and she would cut it. It would be returned to her one day. So Lily reluctantly agreed to cut her hair, and her mother left her braids with their neighbors. The promise her mother made was one she could not keep. Lily and her family were sent to Auschwitz, where she was murdered by the Nazis. Her brother, Yitzhak, would miraculously survive the death march he was sent on at just 14 years old. Eventually, he would return to those neighbors that had the last testament to his sisters, her braids. Today they rest in Yad Vashem to make sure that her memory lives on, to make sure we remember And this is just one of the stories that is enshrined there for generations. Last year, Ontario High School students at TDSB and I had a distinct honor of meeting the late Max Eisel, a survivor of the Auschwitz death camp, an exceptional human being, a man of moral courage. Mr. Eisel's first-hand account of life in the Auschwitz concentration camp is juxtaposed by a life filled with hope and determination to confront evil with love. He challenged us then to be students of history, to ensure we are not bystanders while hate rises, because as we know, and as we were reminded, those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. And so, my friends, this province and country and the entire world is facing a rising tide of hatred. Hatred that we thought was rid a generation ago upon the defeat of the Nazis, liberation of Auschwitz 77 years ago at the end of the Second World War. And yet we still see in our communities and our schools the use of swastikas, the vile Nazi salute. And as free people, we declare the words, never again. So how is it that 1 in 3 students in this country, according to a survey by Liberation 75, believe that the Holocaust was exaggerated, with many unsure if it happened at all? How is it that when Liberation 75 conducts a survey of students, they found a staggering 42% of students themselves have witnessed explicitly an anti-Semitic act? How is it that according to the 2022 StatsCan survey, the smallest faith community among us, Jewish Canadians, were targeted the most by hate crimes? Even though they make up just 1% of our total population, Jewish Canadians are subjected to more than 14% of all hate crimes. According to B'nai B'rith Canada, there have never been more anti-Semitic incidents reported in the country. And last year we saw a 733% increase in violent incidents compared in 2020. And yet our schools and our board and our governments and our leaders will this week declare never again. But words are insufficient, and today we need action. Anti-Semitism has no place in our society, and especially in our schools, which is why we are here committed to tackling this age-old hate. And I must admit, I feel like the leaders across the country and the world do not possess the same moral imperative to act beyond hashtags and thoughts and prayers. Today, my colleagues, Michael Kirstner, Graham McGregor, Patrice Barnes, Will Boma, Andrew Candry, Robin Martin, all of us, on behalf of our Premier, are committed to doing something about this. And it started with the partnership for the first time in our province's history with the Friends of Samuel Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies, and CJA as well, to turn to the Jewish community to help us develop meaningful tools for our educators, for our students, and for our parents. And today I'm proud to stand with them as we launch these tools in our schools. With anti-Semitism on the rise, we are also introducing mandatory Holocaust education. Mandatory Holocaust education in all of our schools. Today, our government is introducing mandatory Holocaust education for the first time in elementary schools. We are going to expand resources and strengthen anti-hate training for Ontario students, our educators, and our families. We are proud to do this, to implement the first mandatory learning requirement on Holocaust education that will be in grade 6 starting next September. And that is important. It is important because, according to the survey, 90% of anti-Semitic incidents in our schools are happening in grades 7 and 8. Colleagues, I've also directed the Ontario College of Teachers to develop a professional learning for our teachers known as an additional qualification on the recommendation of Jewish leaders in the country so that teachers can now get further professional education to combat anti-Semitism within the schools. We're also providing $140,000 to Liberation 75 to provide Holocaust and anti-Semitism resources for educators so that they can identify and confront and stop anti-Semitism before it starts. We have living testaments to the consequence of inaction. 40,000 Holocaust survivors have made Canada their home. That's the third largest population of Holocaust survivors in the entire world. Now, Marilyn reminded me that this synagogue had the largest concentration of Holocaust survivors in the country. Their kids grew up in this community. And it is a moral obligation for us to listen to their words and to remember their stories. This knowledge is an essential part of creating positive change for the future. Their stories and value and humanity endure today and through future generations. Their memory is a blessing, as is our country, a place of refuge, a nation of freedom, and a land of infinite opportunity. And so to keep this country strong and free, we are acting today to ensure Ontario elementary students, for the first time, will learn how to combat hate and anti-Semitism, and to ensure the words "never again" remain true for future generations.